Welcome, everyone, to an episode of The Heart of the Artist that I am so incredibly excited to share with you. We have Rayjane here today. And literally, when I came up with the idea for the show, the first thing out of my mouth was, and I want Rayjane. I have been wanting to sit down with this gal since the beginning of 2024. So actually, that's not even true. I would say that I wanted to sit down with you from the minute I met you at New Yorican Poets Cafe, which has been a minute. Welcome, Rayjane. Thank you so much for taking time to be here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. It was an easy yes for me. You're like, hey, you want to hang? I'm like, yeah, you want to talk poetry? Sure, no problem. That sounds like fun to me. So thank you so much for inviting me.
And of course, Rayjane is a member of Tesoro, and the Tesoro Sisterhood is the sponsoring entity for the Heart of the Artist. So it's family time. It's family time today.
Respect,
But
respect, respect.
I remember I have to go back in time to that very first open mic that I attended, New Yorican Poets Cafe in New York, and I was starstruck by everyone. This was back in 2020,
Mm.
6 years ago. I had just barely begun writing, and Nemo Soon invited me to come and participate. And of course, Elemental was hosting. You were co-hosting. Um, Paul,
Welcome, queso.
Paul
Yeah.
Conqueso, yes. And who's he's doesn't he have the German accent? He has the German accent. Is that him? Or kind of a heavy accent of
Who,
some type?
Paul? Oh, no, no, no. Unless you mean Jersey. Heavy Jersey accent. That's about it.
But I was just starstruck by all of you, you know. I mean, just such a brilliant group and so kind and generous and exciting and fun, you know, and they called you Thunderlung and I was like, wow, what a nickname.
Thank
Can
you.
you share a little bit about your time with New Eureka Poets Cafe and tell us what it is and how you got started with that?
Sure. So I am what you call, or what we began to call ourselves, the pandemic poets, right? So everyone's looking for a place to expand in a world that feels so much like it's shrinking, right? The pandemic for a lot of people, including myself, was a very isolating moment. So I found myself also looking for a community and, also bending back into myself as well, just as a woman, as a person, as an adult, and having a very rigorous career. You forget the things that make you happy or bring you joy. And so I was remembering poetry, if you will, and finding community to remember poetry with. And so the New Eurekan had always been something on my bucket list, and I had went in person before the pandemic happened. So when I found out they were having open mics and they were free, I was like, wait a minute, this is cool. Let me, do I have the guts? And so I went, and it felt like a good vibe. And everybody got a chance to, try and be loved while they were trying, which felt good to me and made me want to try. And then, be invited to have a leadership opportunity was really great. And becoming, the host of the Thursday night online open mic was really, really fabulous. I only had really one goal when sharing my poetry with others. And that's really to be respected amongst my peers. Everybody don't have to like me, but it felt like that. It felt like I was respected and, being trusted with the community, which was a high honor. And then, I stayed around for as long as I could be of service in truth and in light, which matters to me. And then, we all grow. And I think it's important also for these leadership opportunities to be shared, to move aside, and let other people try and be brought up. So I think I finished with hosting with the New Yo back in 2023. So I haven't been with them in quite some time. But it was a great opportunity for me to grow, as a professional artist and to really understand what that meant and also to be representing another entity in that capacity as well, and not just myself and my own artistry, right? As well as holding up a community that's really, often very vulnerable, right? In the spaces where they're opening themselves up to share, their deepest, sometimes darkest thoughts and ruminations. So it was a learning experience. I got to meet some amazing, amazing people, and just really give love in a way that I don't think I had an opportunity to do up until that point. So I was appreciative and still am appreciative of the chance to do that and be that with them. And now I'm kind of just doing my own thing, which is cool. I got a lot of work, and family is family. As they get older, they be acting like teenagers. I'd be like, oh my God, now I got to parent the parents, but that's okay. That's a privilege as well. So balance shows up as it does. And we got to figure out the words, what to call it. But that's
And you are universally acknowledged as being able to find the words very well. Um, you are a beautiful writer, but you also have a quality of performance of your poetry that is unequaled, and it's very unique to you. How did you develop your voice, your performance voice?
I think just trying, just doing it, just seeing what felt right and what came out when I wasn't hiding,
Mhm.
and I think that made the difference between, which is always a wild thing to think, but it's a true thing to acknowledge. My speaking voice now is very soft, very, like me, kind, inviting, those things. But when I'm reciting poetry, I don't have to be anything. And I get to be the energy of the poem and really be what I often call myself, which is a conduit. I do believe that others who didn't have a voice before me come through me and use me. And often that deepens my voice. And people are like, what the hell just happened? You was just saying all sweet, sweet. And then it's like, boom, but that's also me. And I like the dichotomy of that up front. I know it's many things, but at least having that, wild juxtaposition about my own self and voice is interesting for me. Some people are asking, like, is that a gimmick? Is that something you do just to perform? And I can understand the question, but I don't, because it's the only place I really get to be me. I get to be open. I get to be in my fullness. And if that's a powerful thing, then so be it. And that's also really a beautiful thing to experience in the moment of the recitation. Like, oh, wow, we really get to be powerful right here. And what about this makes us feel this way too, which also deepens the experience of the writing and the reciting for me as well.
You are nicknamed Thunderlung, which I think is such a cool nickname. How did that come about?
That's a New Yo gift from the community. I think as you get into these spaces where it's encouraged, and not just New Yo, but in any creative space where the crowd is encouraged to participate, right? So when you're on Zoom, we participate as a crowd, in our boxes with our videos on, but also in the chat. And so there's a lot of talking that happens in the chat, right? A lot of community building, a lot of, people revealing their personalities, in the chat as well. And I think when you do build community, whether that's one person or many people, something that comes natural is nicknaming for whatever reason that becomes a loving act, right? And everybody else kind of gets down with what feels most appropriate for you as a banner, so if there was to be a banner over you as a person, as an entity, the buy-in from the rest of the community says, yeah, yeah, no, that seems appropriate. That's what we would call her village if, her village were to have a name. So I think that was really, that's a cool thing. Everybody wants to get a nickname that makes you feel, a part like, oh my God, I love them too. They love me. They get a nickname. It's kind of cool too. So,
I-
but that's where it came from.
That's it feels like when I hear you perform that it is a very apt name. There is a such a fun aspect to that aspect of your personality.
Mm,
Um, I can't imagine anyone having asked you, is that put on? Because when I watch you perform, it feels like this fun, slightly naughty, like genie coming out of the bottle to just play and just spit it. Um, it's so much fun. Would you like to read a poem?
sure, sure, always.
Oh, fun, fun, let's go.
Okay, let's see what we wanna read. Mm, I will read. Huh. I've been so political these days. It's hard not to be. But that's where we're going. I'm gonna read one actually for the women, since we're talking about that feminine energy. This one is entitled Nasty Woman. Nasty like, fuck the life you thought you earned. I am Earth. Landing you deep at the core of this unmistakable energy. I know you feeling me. I reject all permission for masculinity. I been a G, OG like G-O-D. I've been difficult. An odyssey, it's odd, you see, but can't see me so fucking fly. Honey tongue devoid of lies. You better pronounce that right. It's your majesty. The woman in me is all the women you see. I am every, all, completely. Can't even feel me. You ain't grabbing nothing, especially not this pussy. Ah, Suki, she's emerging, expanding, pausing to ruminate over the true weight of her words. Using her body as she pleases, loudly moaning into your stillness while demanding continual pleasing. Unapologetically, she flagellates in front of you, daring you to question the ceremony in her climax. 100% all fact, she reads like an almanac, mapping your astrology, penning the likelihood of your harvest, the rising of your tides. She abides by nothing, unlocked and dastardly with it. She got it 'cause she get it, the fine ass line between conquering and catastrophe. Imperfect when quiet, but well equipped to spit some shit that'll make your thoughts tremble. Hands designed to reassemble her dichotomy, expertly balancing between clutch the pearls classy and being mad nasty. Thank
Oh my gosh. Every time I hear you, it literally makes me want to jump up and down. Like I get so excited.
you.
And I mean, we love listening to poets, right? We love listening to poets, but I feel like you are one that people get excited when they see you. I'm like, oh, it's Ray Jane. We get to see Ray Jane.
I'm honored by that. That's always I appreciate never getting comfortable with that. I think that works for me. It's weird. It's strange in my body, but I appreciate it nonetheless. And I thank you. You know,
I have to fangirl over you. I just have to.
I appreciate that. Every girl likes to feel special every now and then. So, thank you.
You have such style too with the glasses. Tell me about you always have cool glasses. How did this fashion accessory develop for you?
Oh, I can't see nothing. So, that, forces your hand just a little bit. And, I've never been contacts are okay, but there's always, that sneaking fear that you're really gonna poke your eye out. It's just there. And now they're making glasses so cool and stylish and affordable, heavy on the affordable. So I'm like, okay, if I have a need that's not gonna go away, and often I think about, if there were no glasses, I'd really be in trouble. I'd really be in trouble. I'd have to get a dog. I would have to get a dog. But that's neither here nor there. But now they make it so cool. So this gets to be the thing that I need, but also something that makes me feel more me, but also helps me take risks, with color and design and pattern that maybe I'm not ready to take with larger items of clothing. So it lets me be creative in my own little funky way, but also be able to see. That's priority. It's just the seeing thing.
Well, they are great. Those are just so stinking cute. I'm digging that very much.
Thank you very much, lady.
So, how did you get into poetry and start writing?
Oh man, I've been writing forever. I've been writing since I was a small child. Uh, Probably since I was like 5 or so. My mom used to work for a legal aid society in the city. She's a data entry person. We doing what we had to do to make money, right? We couldn't always afford going to, a babysitter. So sometimes she had to take me to work. And I knew she wasn't supposed to be doing that. So I'd be trying to make friends for her. So I would write little poems for her, her bosses and her colleagues and little short poems. And, they would put them up and they would just be so happy to get a gift. And then it just became something that I also really enjoyed. Um, and I never really put it down. And it was always somewhere in the background, even if I wasn't an emphasized part of my life, it was always there. And I would always like to say, waiting for me, like whenever you're ready, you're right here, kind of thing, so forever. That's what I always feel like been with me forever.
That ability um, at such a young age to understand that your mother was maybe acting outside of the norm and that that could potentially put her at risk and that you took that upon yourself to try to mitigate that risk. Where do you think that understanding and urge came from?
I don't know. I was just, young black child. There's a lot of things you have to be aware of that perhaps exceed your age range, right? And what maybe books say or society at large may say, you should have to be responsible for knowing. But as a protective mechanism, my mother's also a young black woman, walking around in the streets in the 80s and 90s. I was aware of the same crime that she was aware of. We were passively watching the same, news. So, even though maybe I wasn't going to be able to do much with my little body, but I was going to be aware, like, oh, in the news, I heard they be mugging. So, let me at least, stand in front of my mother pocketbook, so, when you grow up in the big city, as you will, my dad always say you have to be aware of your surroundings. And so, unfortunately and fortunately, I'm very appreciative of that. Of unfortunately having to grow up in a not so safe environment, but gave me an awareness that is useful now beyond the survival of it all. You know what I mean?
Was this New York that you grew up in?
That's right. And then the Big Apple.
Which part of New York?
I was born in Brooklyn, but raised in Queens.
And New Yo is in Queens, isn't it?
New
No.
York is in
Oh,
the
the
Lower
village.
East Side of New
Lower East
York.
Side. That
Hmm.
that's the village, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So,
There's I got to have lunch at the little bookstore with Jane
okay.
and Terry Jertson, which I think that's isn't that right beside New Yo?
Yeah, I think it's just down the street.
So that was an epic moment just to, be near that building was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot of beautiful history down there. It's a rich, rich area, for eating too. So I hope you got something to eat while you're down there.
We did. We did. But this was the world that you grew up in. So did you and because I always get the perception that if you grow up in New York City that you pretty much are taking subways maybe by yourself at a pretty early age and learning how to navigate the city. Did you do those things?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, yeah, it was just like a natural thing. You
Hmm.
know, Parents had to go to work and we had to get around, and sometimes when they had nobody to take you, and my father actually drove the trains. He was a train operator.
Oh,
So we was, MTA was already in our blood a little bit. So, and then where we lived in Queens was, somebody said it best. I think they said, you live behind God's back. So that's how far out in Queens that we live. So everywhere we went was a journey. So it was never a task to us to travel, because everywhere was a traveling excursion, because we were just so far from everything. But I enjoyed it. It made me feel like an explorer. Like some people get to walk around with the United States map, but we should all make sure you get a printed copy. The world's changing. Um, but it was also kind of a badge of honor as a New Yorker to kind of have that MTA map, in your blood as well, and kind of know how to get around no matter where you get dropped off, because some train broke down, but okay, we're gonna get off here and walk 3 blocks over, and we're gonna catch the R train. It's gonna be fine. So that was the fun part of growing up in New York City as well too.
I used to get lost as a child all the time. Did you ever get lost?
Not really, no. That was also, I think, something that made me feel good, is that I could navigate. It made me feel safer, is that, I'm probably not going to get lost. Like, I have a really good sense of direction, just in general, which is helpful. So I'm like, I'm sure I got lost like once or twice, but it never was for long, because I don't really stray too far from the known path too, unless I'm making a life change, that is. But when we traveling, I'm like, hold on, now every place ain't safe for me, so I gotta be careful. Hold on, this still don't look. We going back to the main road. So, but
So what's one of the most memorable experiences you had as a young girl growing up in the big city?
mm, yeah, I don't know. There's so many things. I think for me, those kind of memories are very, very specific to
Mhm.
certain areas. So growing up in Queens, one of the quintessential memories is, getting a beef patty, from a specific beef patty place on the Coliseum block, only having $20, but going to look, at jeans that are definitely 29.99, and just dreaming with your high school friends, or being at a mall when malls were still even a thing, you know, in the city that was still an experience, you know. So I think, you know, those specific memories about those places that now don't even exist anymore, um, I think will always mean a lot to me because nobody will ever experience that again,
Yeah,
you know.
time capsule moments.
Hmm.
Now, beef patty, is that a Caribbean
Yeah,
dish?
yes, yes, yes. My mother is Jamaican. So a lot of my friends and the folks that I went to high school with are, you know, from the Caribbean or, you know, first generation, you know, I'm first generation, you know, from Jamaica. So one of our favorite snacks, if you will, if not meal replacement, if you want to go, you know, is a beef patty or in well, a beef patty and cocoa bread if you really want to get it right, you know.
Um, Curried goat.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love curried goat.
As you should, as you should.
Now, do you know how to cook these traditional Jamaican dishes?
You know, I dibbles and I dabbles, you know. I'm mysterious, you know, sometimes, maybe.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I'd rather eat my mom's though, you know how it is.
Yeah.
How do it like mama.
So, what does your mom think about you? I mean, I don't know how you quantify. In my eyes, you are famous within the poet community. Like, I feel like everybody knows who you are and has admiration for what you do. I'll realize also that the poet community is fairly small. So, like you like the big girl on campus within our, little world that we have. But what does your mom think about the positive adulation, if that's the right word that people want to throw at you?
My mom is such a loving creature. Like, you know, if she was from another dimension or time, she'd probably be like a fairy or something like that. You know, just like love, 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 just like to this love, right? So, any place where I'm loved, my mom is happy that I am, right? Any place that, you know, takes care of me in a positive way, you know, that allows me to be myself and to feel good about myself. My mom is cool with. And you know, my mom likes, you know, she's a Capricorn girl. She likes a little, you know, challenge. So, you know, every now and then she listens in on the workshops and she'll do, you know, my book. She bought the workshop, the workbook that goes with my book. And she's like, I'm reading your book and doing the workbook. So she's got poems that she's written, you know, and she likes the challenge and she likes to be creative too, even though she claims she's not a poet. I'm like, okay, but now you got almost a book yourself, you know, just in completing the poems in the workbook. So it's nice to see, you know, my mom and my dad. My dad is like a monster, you know, he's just like the loud, that's my baby, you know, kind of dad, you know, like on the street with the book, like, take it here, you know, give me money right now, kind of thing. But I appreciate just being loved and supported because there's a lot of people out here that are not loved and supported in any way for from their family, their loved ones, forget just their parents. So to have my parents interested, you know, even just interested, I'm cool. I feel great. Like, you know, if they like it, that's a cherry on top. But it's just them being interested perpetually and not being like, oh, can you just be quiet already? Put your headphones on. We don't want to hear that, you know? They be like, go ahead from the background. See, there go my daddy right there. Dad, get out of here. See, I'm doing
I'm
that.
interviewing your beautiful daughter.
Oh, cool. Hire her.
Hi. Bring your dad over if he wants to and say hello. No, okay.
Let that man go because he would take this show over. He'd be like, so let me tell you about how this is on my half. You know, I'll be like, oh God. But I'm blessed to have them. Um, what can I say?
I sense, the a theme of what you said earlier, like, you know, this beautiful relationship with you and your parents, and it like doesn't matter that you're not like fabulously wealthy and buying all these things, right? You have this love in your house. And are your parents, are they just are they in love with each other?
No, they ain't together, girl. Mm-mm.
Oh,
They were.
that so you went through a divorce.
Oh no, they were never married. But it felt like a divorce.
Yeah,
When I was like
it's
8 years
good.
old. But it was when I was young, so I spent most of the time with them not being together. But they were excellent co-parents. They just always were ragging on each other. Like that's all they did, and just laughing. And we're watching National Geographic, and somebody's like, look, it's your mama, and it's like that. So that was always, I got to see a very healthy co-parenting relationship. So, I didn't want for anything from either of my parents, which I know is also a blessing because many people can't say that.
I love that. I have I have a theory that when you have a mismatch between the love language of a parent and the love language of a child, that it can it can lead to sort of some emotional issues, that the child has to work through later in life. Um, and it sounds like you had a really fun, just loving, exciting, fun. Your parents both sound like larger than life personalities.
They're crazy. No, you want them? No, I'm just kidding. Nah, they're nuts. Like that was what was so fun about it. They were just silly, like my mom always wants to just like randomly salsa in the middle of the or ballroom dance, and we're just being silly and you could really expand, and not feel compressed. But you feel loved, and it's okay to be weird. It's just really nice, and then also to see your parents, be vulnerable, to see what adults look like when they're vulnerable enough to be silly or to be wrong or to not know, you know. As see my dad's here sticking his tongue out at me because he's nuts. See what I'm talking about? Just crazy. Now you just had to get the screwdriver right now, right? See?
I feel such a sense of groundedness from
Mm.
you. Um, you give the impression of knowing who you are and exactly who you are and how you want to move through this world. Would you say that's an accurate impression?
Yes, I would. I would say it's not necessarily one that I've had of myself for my whole life, which makes sense. Um, but it's a hard fought for truth. Yeah.
Mhm. How did you get to that? Because I know that's something that a lot of women acknowledge as something that they want to have for themselves, but maybe don't have a clear idea of how to get there. How did you do that?
I just having conversations with myself, about what's real and what's a pattern. I think that pattern recognition, as far as the things that you try and the things that you fail and what you call a failure and what you make excuses for instead of saying, hey, that ain't right, girl, and then, going to therapy and taking those steps and really not so much because you want somebody else to be in your business, but because you need objectivity sometimes, you need a different perspective to build perspective, right? And so I think there's nothing wrong with using that as a tool. And if you leave tools on the table, then you really can't complain about being lost, or feeling undone, right? Because you've got tools around it that you're not willing to use. Again, often because, I speak for myself, because I'm thinking about somebody else and what they're gonna think, they're gonna think I'm crazy. Yeah, I am. And so are you. We're all a little nuts. That's on the spectrum. There's no like definitive of what crazy is or what crazy is not. I think we're all a little bit, outside of what someone would automatically assume about us. I think that's what we really mean when we say, yo, you crazy. Like you doing something that's unexpected. That I saw you, I thought I had you boxed up. Hold on. You a little crazy, right?
You moved counter to the pattern.
Exactly, right? So I think being unafraid, and not even unafraid, be afraid. That's okay. There's no shame in fear, right? It's, shameful when you allow fear to stop you, when that's the end of the sentence is what you fear. You know, I think taking that fear with you, like, yeah, I'm afraid, but I'm gonna work on this. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm moving forward. I'm trying something, and maybe this won't work, but I deserve a try. And sometimes it's just that simple, and nobody knows. That's also what I would say to people. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all trying it out. We're all like, so what you doing? What you doing? What would you say if you had a chance to say it? Because it's natural. I think as human beings, as social creatures, right, to engage in each other's gifts, right, as a social barter, if you will, right, to say, hey, this is what I have to offer. Can I a little bit of piece of you to make myself a little bit better, people's perspectives. You don't gotta take it all. You gotta take it all. But somebody might be right about something you wrong about.
Do you have a specific moment that you can recall or point to where you had a little bit of a eureka, like, wow, I'm evolving. I'm getting this. Like good, I just made progress.
Mm. Ooh. I feel like every day I'm like, I don't know nothing. I'm like the opposite of that. Like I'm supposed to know stuff by now. I don't know nothing. But I think severing a long-term relationship and the drive home, being the one to do it, to know it's time to get selfish, in the healthy way, and maybe in a healthy way, whatever. Especially because I wasn't selfish at all, or at least not as selfish as I thought I should have been, if I could have been, my worst. But yeah, but coming home and just knowing that, okay, this is a very adult choice for your joy, for your highest good, um, and not being afraid and having that. I think that was the last moment of a mentality that was based on lack, right? Like, of course, there's more for me, right? Let me behave like I know that, right? And that was my first action, to behave like I know that there's more for me, and that it's okay. That's okay. That's not a shameful thing. That's a blessed thing. That's a beautiful thing, and that's something that I can also want for the other person, while I want it for myself.
Do you think there's a difference in moving away from things versus moving toward things?
Hmm. What do you mean by that question?
It could be said, that if folks are, I've got to get away from this, I've got to get away from that, that there's a negative thought
Mm-hmm.
process going on in their mind versus someone saying, I have this goal, I have this dream, and I am going to build a pathway
Mm-hmm.
to that place where I achieve this goal or this dream. So that's, you know, contextually different,
Mm,
to move towards something versus to move away from something.
understood, understood, understood. Mm. Hmm. I think I'm mulling that over so much because I feel like it asks so many questions at once, right? Like it asks about belief in time, right? And trajectories. Like, is there such thing as a forward and a backward, right? If you have to believe in that to even answer that question, right? So it's an interesting question in that sense. And I don't think that there is a backward and a forward. I think there's only a forward and a not moving, right? So I think that if you don't allow yourself to try new things, to make mistakes, to, pull in other people's perspectives, to consider that you could be wrong, right? And maybe try somebody else's perspective out and see if it feels better, if you are able to achieve your goals with more ease, right? Then, I think it becomes simpler in that way, right? It's a good question. I need more time with it. I want to chew it. I want to chew on that, I think if we decide to make different choices and those choices bring us closer to our highest good, that is the movement forward. But if we choose to make the same decisions that lead us in the same cycles, then we make the decisions to stay right where we are. I don't think we ever really go backwards because you never can not know what you know.
Right. Company that I used to work for had a motto that if you aren't growing, you're dying,
Mm.
and that they always wanted to be moving ahead.
Mhm.
Does that motto apply to you?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of gardening, a lot of planting, a lot of time with the soil, a lot of earthing.
Time with the soil, yes.
Just like a lot
Mm,
of
comfort.
apologizing, really, just to the trees. Like, listen, I know we ain't nothing. Like, thank you for not falling on us because we don't deserve it. You know? But I think, I think it allows me, you know, some real consideration of growth, right? And how important it is, right, to grow. So yes, I would agree with that because I consider myself a plant. I consider us all plants. I consider us all the same, just iterations of the same thing, right? Like we could easily be a tree. We could easily be any of those things. So just as it's important for any living thing not to be stunted,
Mhm.
right? To have the opportunity to extend into all of their possibilities, right? Which is what growth is, right? Giving you a chance to extend into your possibilities. How tall can you possibly be, right? Sometimes how thick can you possibly be? So, when it's your having the possibly having the chance to be the most. So yeah, I would agree.
Um, I know so many people that I've talked to about a New York upbringing said that they went to a Catholic school. Did you go to a Catholic school?
No, I went to a public school, just straight up public. Although my kindergarten was in a Catholic church, but it wasn't necessarily a Catholic school. It was just housed in a Catholic church.
Mhm.
So our teachers weren't, sister or anything. It was like Miss Gonzalez, which was still kind of a cool experience to have it. They called it the annex. Um, but yeah, no, otherwise it was just wild public schools from there.
What's a memory, like something memorable from elementary school for you?
I think recess. Recess was just, it was free. I think the things that are the memories that are most poignant for me are the ones that I feel most free. And for me, elementary school was all about recess and, all the latest hand games and, double dutch and, you know, playing tag, and we didn't have much. We really just had a big old thing of asphalt. But we were creative, and that was what was fun.
Do you have anyone from your young childhood that follows you now as a poet?
Yeah, I do. I have a few of my friends from that time, actually from the annex, from when we were 5 years old. We were friends still. So they still, they have my book in their bookshelves, and which is always a really humbling thing to consider. That you always say when you're a little kid, we're gonna be friends for life. All your accomplishments. I'm gonna have your book on my shelf. But then when it happens, it really feels like a blessing because it is one, at least for me.
Mm. I think that's really neat to look at a friendship relationship and go, that's over 30 years old. That's over 40 years old. That's over 50 years old. That's amazing in this world where things are disposable and people don't stay where they started. They go multiple times, they go. I think that's a pretty incredible thing to have someone that you're still friends after all these years.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with them. They a little crazier than I am, but I'm glad for it.
So you do not live in New York now. You've moved elsewhere. How did that come about to
So
leave?
I still live in New York. I don't live in the
Oh,
city in the five boroughs.
oh,
I live in the suburbs in Long Island, out in Suffolk County. Right now I'm in Georgia, at my dad's house, or at my
oh,
grandma's
okay. That's where I had heard the Georgia part. So
house.
that's your dad. Okay,
That's daddy. We in the woods at daddy's.
got it. Now, is your dad also of Caribbean heritage?
No, so my dad is the southern side of me. So my mom is the Jamaican side, and my dad is the Georgian side. That's the Georgia folk.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so his side is all Georgia and Brooklyn. So his parents and his like mom's generation, they all kind of were born in Brooklyn, but and we still have the land from the family. So we've been back and forth, keeping it up, and just slowing down because the city is bustling in all the ways, and sometimes it's nice to just look at a tree, just one tree in a in a field of nothing. Otherwise, so.
Do you use nature as a source of inspiration for your writing?
Oh yeah. Um, it's just like us. We're just like it. It's hard not to see myself in it, which is, great because it makes me feel small, but not in a minimizing way,
Hmm.
in a wonder inducing kind of way. Like, whoa, like the world is so huge. I'm really just like a little speck, a little sparkly speck, but a speck nonetheless, you know, which is great, and just be able to be present and not so inward looking, right? And appreciating what's outside.
I have to ask, are you an earth sign?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am Capricorn.
So your mom is a Capricorn and you are a Capricorn.
Yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
I love Capricorn people. Capricorn people get stuff done. Like if the Army Corps of Engineers, I think every single one of them is Capricorn. Like you want to get something done. You want to build a city, build the world. Get a Capricorn and put him in charge of it and let him go.
We've been trying to say this. I mean, every year, December, January, we try to say the same thing. Nobody listens. Nobody listens to us. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay. We appreciate. I feel seen, and I appreciate you.
But I sense a very spiritual, um, spiritual and gentle side to you. And a lot of times Capricorn people can be very, not hard, but very practical, very
Hmm.
logical, and not given to flights of fancy.
Hmm.
Where do you think that other sort of soft and spiritual and seeking part of you
Mm.
comes from?
I don't know. No. Aquarian, listen, so we can pray for the rest of our lives. Stacy's in the background, letting us know that
Good
she's
one,
praying for
Stacy. Good one.
you know. Whisper, as I think about that, whisper, what's your sign?
I am a Pisces sun
Uh,
with my moon in Leo
mm,
and rising Taurus. So
okay, okay.
uh, I'm kind of a weird mix of interesting influences.
We love a good mix. We love a good mix, okay? And nonetheless, Stacy's praying for us, so it's okay. So it's okay.
She's got
It's
us covered.
I would say the spiritual bit for me definitely comes from my grandparents. My grandparents on my mother's side were evangelists, actually. They had their own church on our land in Jamaica. And then when they came here, they had a little, storefront church. We didn't have for long. But those are some of like my most poignant memories about church. Of course, I have the same experience that a lot of people have, that a lot of people are demystifying for themselves as well. But I also got to have a very intimate experience with church because we were the only ones up in there. It was me and my grandma and my grandpa, their two friends, and tambourines. And that was it. And it was nice because it felt authentic because we could have been doing anything in there. We didn't have to be spending hours just, you know, giving praise to God, in the loudest and most fun way we knew how to. But that was a really great experience. And then just seeing my grandmother also, preach, be a preacher, like, and be unafraid. And, I have a poem about her, you know, getting thrown off of the buses. That used to be something I used to hate. We would get on the bus and she start preaching, and the bus driver wasn't having it, and he would throw us off the bus. And you know how long that walk was? You know what I mean? That would be the thing that I'm thinking about in that moment. But now, as I'm older, I'm thinking about how brave she was to have held on, to her convictions and to be so convicted that she wasn't, afraid to get thrown off of a bus. you know?
See, this is the kind of uh, individual experiences that I feel so privileged to have been in a space with poets to hear these stories, to hear this storytelling. I don't know where outside of the artistic community we have a culture of storytelling to learn about each other and learn about each other's experiences and where we come from and what we've seen and the things that we've held as triumphs and the things that have kicked us in the teeth. Like, where else than these poetry communities, artistic communities, do we learn about each other in this way? I feel so grateful and humbled to have had this opportunity. It has been so transformative for me, for the way I want to move through the world.
Well, thank you for having me. I was honored to be asked. It's always like people are like, oh, I don't know if you're gonna have time. I'm like, yes, I would love to. Just ask me. Yes, that sounds like fun. Let's talk. Let's have a good jam. Ask me questions. I like, to get to know folks and have them get to know me as well. So I thank you for thinking of me and thinking, just giving me space to expand.
Absolutely. It's beautiful to listen to you talk about your origin story. I would love to invite you to share another poem before we end it, if you would like, and also to talk about any projects you've got going on and how everyone can find you on social media, because I know you have a good footprint out there in those spaces, and we want to let everybody find you.
Yes, yes. Wow. Thank you for even listening, folks. Um, you can find me. I like to keep it simple, right? So if you're thinking like, where is it? It's Rayjane, ITSRAYJANE.com. And it's also the same thing on Instagram and the same thing on Facebook and the same thing on TikTok. Okay, I'm exploring the TikTok world as well. So you can find me on any of those. You can also find my first book, Black Like That, on itsrayjane.com or Amazon or really any outlet for physical books, for audio books, and also for ebooks. So on all platforms, it is available. Oh, also as a audiobook as well on Spotify as well too. So if you
This is the
grab,
one that you produced, like you did this whole thing yourself, right?
that's right, that's right. So all me, engineer, everybody,
Love it. Love it.
which was cool. Everything is a learning experience. And before I want somebody else to do it for me, I want to know what it takes to get it done. So I can also have a standard for myself set. So I will read a poem to you all for your time. I appreciate you. I'm in my grandmother's house. So I'm going to read, and I mentioned my grandmother, my other grandmother as well. So I'm going to read a poem that's for my grandmothers. And it's entitled Grandma's Hands. And I also sing a little bit with this. So I hope that you like it. Okay. Um, Respect and credit due to the original artist for the part that's sung, Bill Withers, from his album Just As I Am, released in 1971, and the song entitled Grandma's Hands. Grandma's hands clapped in church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands played a tambourine so well. Grandma's hands used to issue out a warning. She said, Ray Jane, don't you run so fast. Might fall on a piece of glass. Might be snakes there in that grass. Grandma's hands. Both my grandmas had hands. Boxing off the world, all women are girls, first truth laid bare before man. I often wonder who held you when inside was worse, ran rampant with more violence than outside. Who held you when the world turned terse? Provision for French in your words. How you knew so much about magic, you spiced your spells, taught me how to curse. Who made you damn your well? You cried so reluctantly, having already swallowed hell, bursted the seams of vulnerability, having already grew out of emotion. All our buckets dry, lapping after you, but never asking why. They used to call you mean. Like much nice is left when life is just excuse not to die, marked you in my genes. I knew collecting the bits of you, you crumbed, unsure of your will, your story trudged on, so you stumbled, so I'd survive from the rage and pain you let escape from the same mouth you laced with love. Quietly, I noticed what they wouldn't. Heard your silence loud and clear, reweaved you with what sewed your sealed son's radiant countenance to screw faces. To this day, never seen a thug pray so much. A prayer for every dark corner we touched, every lesson her life showed us, every cycle we were damned in repeating. Simpletons wasn't nobody's little friend. She became cast iron, black pan, cutting eye at all who claimed kin, hot oil beyond the boil, hot temper needed, but they wonder why a chain breaker stay heated. She was too different, cold so no cracker could make a winter. I couldn't conquer a cloak myself in a tundra tough enough. I traverse dimensions like her, collecting juice. I sleep hard pressed too, clear now how seers need rest to prove we can bend time, bring back power, devolve and live out your past for you. Best believe she gonna call out the fall, tell you, absorb you raw, no male roar ever known to tame an eating thing before. I learned how to chew dudes from my grannies. Also learned unshakable faith uncanny to see a thug worshipping glint of her 45 distracting, the slosh of her whiskey refracting, confusing, revealing how our power be a gamut when in purpose fully lit. Grandma always got gas money, so we stay refueling. And the other grandmother, an evangelist, a whole trigger in the pulpit, refusing a compass through demons she be rebuking. So much your devils is amusing. I was meant to spit, I was doomed to do it. My grannies molded me, mended me through it, not so gently groomed me to bloom and boom, to rise in spirit, up from lowly bellow. Far all these grannies in me, censored by atrocities, they still won't speak, cussing and dying quietly. Drowned warriors demanded their volume, patriarchy requiring their piety. Unbending at the risk, my grannies wrote my letters in each switch, taught me the class in chess, in crosswords. Both my grannies had hands and unprovoked proverbs to prove it. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
And I love that line, boom and bloom. Yes. What a way to live. What a space to allow yourself to inhabit. Boom and bloom. I have to think your grandmas would both be very happy to see you doing those things.
Thank you for saying that. Those are my girls. That's where the crazy came from. Them.
I love that. When you said you had a poem named Grandma's Hands, I do too.
Oh.
And so I was just like, what?
Mm.
Yes. So you knew I had to love it. You knew I had to love it, even if it wasn't brilliant, which it is. You knew I had to love it. Just hearing that title,
Oh,
grandma poems, man. That's the
mm.
good stuff.
I gotta hear that one day, cause man, grandma's
Good
it's
stuff.
different. Yeah. Mm.
Oh, Ray Jane, thank you. You are such a ray of light.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It was fun. We had a giggle, girl.
If y'all have not seen this gal, she has a great, and I don't know how often you do it if you have it regular, but she has a great space on TikTok. Just Ray Jane's got cool girl vibes for days, right? You are just the flow. And she is fun to kick it with. If she's on TikTok, y'all go in and watch and hang out.
Mm.
And it's just fun. It's
Oh,
just
and if you need a poetry workshop, dang it, I forgot. Oh my God, these people gonna be
that
like,
part.
"What?"
Yes, step up.
Like you ain't even telling people. Artdefine.org. Art defined.org. So they have a poetry workshop called Cycles, generative poetry writing workshops, once a month now. Myself and Paul Conqueso are co-moderating for the next few months. So it's always, a double trouble situation. So you could definitely come through. All they ask for is like a donation. So if you got $1, that's it. That's all you got. That's okay. If you forget that, hit us up, and we'll find other ways for you to support and not miss the opportunity to build community with us. Yes. Thank you, Stacy. We love you.
Y'all, this has been such a wonderful episode of the Heart of the Artist. And like I said at the beginning, when I conceived of the show, I said I want to have Rayjane on the show. And I finally got to have my conversation with Rayjane. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your light and your stories with us. Um, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a whole lot of fun.
My pleasure. My dad is also dancing. He's happy too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, yep, yep.
Sky.
Oh, all right, y'all. Well, this has been our show. It's been an amazing one. Please go check out this brilliant lady, Rayjane. It's Rayjane on all the social media and her wonderful book in audio and in print, Black Like That. And then what was the name of the website again?
It's rayjane.com. See, we keep
It's
it simple.
rayjane.com. That's it, y'all. Show up for this lady because she's showing up for y'all, giving her heart 100%. Love it.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Until
Ooh,
next time,
no,
Heart of the Artist.
Zoom is like so fancy these days now.